So it looks like the bromance is back. And let me show you what the bros are tweeting out lately. This is Elon Musk. He says, close your eyes, bro. Then there's Trump. Okay, bro. Musk, what you see, bro. Trump, nothing, bro. And then Musk, that's my world without you, bro. And Trump, bro. Yes, the bromance is back. And why are the bros getting back together? Well, they're gathering in DC to beg for money. That's what this whole thing is about. And what's the money for? It's for AI. And what's the AI for? To replace all of you, the workers. It's completely unsustainable. It's completely absurd. But this is our reality. It's some crazy South Park timeline. Elon Musk is tweeting out American flag, American flag, American flag, retweeting White House, American flag, American flag, American flag. And we're all hanging out with the Saudis, basically trying to work some sort of whatever deal. And let's get taxpayers to build us all of our data centers so we can place all the workers as quickly as possible. And when people say, hey, well, why do we need these data centers? And Musk is be like, because guys, if we have robots and AI, I'm going to end poverty. And that's really what he says. And yes, it's as stupid as it sounds. Now, if you call him out on this stuff, you say, yo, this thing is a total bubble. Yo, this thing is damaging to our environment and to our lives. You know what? They're going to sue you. This is from the White House today, just breaking now. White House drafts order directing Justice Department to sue states that pass AI regulations. So effectively, they don't want any of this stuff regulated. And I'll just be frank with you guys. Like, if you go into a world that Trump wants, where there's like no regulation on banks, no regulation on crypto, now we have no regulation on AI. I mean, just the regular person is going to get squashed here, isn't it obvious? I mean, just think of it this way. It's kind of like saying, okay, guys, what if we have a situation where there's no, speeding limits? You can drive as fast as you want. There's absolutely zero gun laws. You can, buy whatever guns you want. And in fact, no AI laws. So I guess now we can manipulate people and send our bots amongst the world, right? Manipulate all the social media. And there are so many problems with AI, be it, it's not just replace you at your work. It's also like just, for me, because I do YouTube all the time, the bot situation is absolutely horrific. Especially if there's like a situation to where we don't regulate it at all and like foreign powers can come in and start manipulating elections or whatever they want. That's just one example. Or another example is like, what if we have zero regulations on how you can use someone's image, right? So then I could take anyone's voice, anyone's image, and make them say things, do things that they didn't actually do or say. And you're going to have massive problems. Like someone was just mentioning the other day where you might see a video and it's like, a popular news broadcaster, and they'll be like, it'll look like a legitimate story, and it'll be like completely fake. So for me, there are definite musts for AI regulation for any number of reasons. I just gave you a few. You could argue that a state could say, hey, there's a certain industry we're not going to automate. It just, we don't want to necessarily take away jobs from everyone. And you'll see negotiations with stuff like that. So for example, the Longshoremen's Union, they negotiate that kind of stuff like, hey, please don't wipe us all out, because they totally could. Or Amazon workers could theory like, hey, please don't wipe us all out. I'm just giving you some examples that, there could be any sort of like industry standards to say like, hey, we're not going to use AI. You could talk about that with, news, media. For example, in Hollywood, many actors are like, hey, already companies are using their images. I think it was Tom Hanks and Scarlett Johansson that actually sued, because effectively there were companies that were using their, image and voice to like sell products that they didn't endorse whatsoever. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. You could talk about child safety laws, whatever, but I mean, you got to regulate this stuff. You can't just go completely unregulated, because there's a bunch of stuff that we haven't even thought of yet that could turn up. What if AI just starts scrubbing through all of your, financial, personal data on social media, whatever. So I'm sure you guys get the point of this. Like, I think it should be regulated. I'll leave it at that. Trump disagrees. He thinks he's going to, sue you. And then you got the whole energy and stuff as well. This is what Trump says. We must have one federal standard instead of a patchwork of 50 state regulatory regimes. If we don't, then China will easily catch us in the AI race. So he's going to try to pretend that he cares about this thing. Remember, from Trump's point of view, all he cares about putting money in his pocket. And as long as the AI bros keep, essentially, hey, let's, build hotels in the Maldives together and tokenize that and put money in your pocket. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Hey, do all the AI you want. No rules for anyone. And that's the world that he wants. Now, regards to the bubble, and it keeps on and going, Jensen Huang and the boys over at Nvidia, they reported their earnings, and Jensen, I guess he's saying there's no bubble. This is the headline. Nvidia shrugs off AI bubble anxiety with bumper chip demand. Okay, and this is the key quote right here. He says, there has been a lot of talk about an AI bubble, right? We talk about it. A lot of people talk about it, not just me and us in the community, but a lot of people do. Jensen saying, from our vantage point, we see something very different. Interesting. And evidently, the revenues grew 62%, which I'll be frank with you guys, that's actually pretty good. It doesn't necessarily mean the stock's going to, quadruple from here, because the question is, how long can this growth go? And there's going to come a point to where you just don't need to buy any more chips or you run out of money. This is also a quote, because there's two quotes. So one, they don't think there's a bubble, but they also mention this. In a regulatory filing, Nvidia warned for the first time, right? It's the first time they're saying it, that its customers' ability to, quote, secure capital and energy for AI data centers was a potential brake on growth, right? So you can grow as much as you can afford to grow, as long as you got money to keep buying said chips, and you can grow as much as long as you have power to, run these data centers. And I think that's actually a good way to put it, right? Until people run out of money and run out of energy, we're going to keep selling them chips, but there's going to be a point where we just don't need to buy any more of this stuff. Now, Nvidia doesn't necessarily disprove that there isn't a bubble, because they can sell picks and shovels to everyone. Basically what it is like, a gold rush, everyone's digging for gold, and they're like, hey, I'll sell you the picks and shovels. But what if all those people who are spent all this money to, dig for gold don't find any gold? Essentially, like, what if they build all these data centers and then no one shows up to subscribe to said things? Then essentially that's what a bubble is, right? Like, that didn't pay off, your investment didn't work. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to lose out, but I do have some real concerns about this stuff. And I'll give you an interesting story that I just saw today. I didn't even heard about this one. There's always something new to where we are definitely in a bubble. So I'll read the headline. This is from Financial Times. Christian tech group tests investors' faith in AI deals on Wall Street debut. So basically, we're at the point now to where, everyone wants to jump on the AI train. So then you got Elon Musk saying, hey, AI, I got to do AI. And now you got Christian groups doing it. And it's interesting. I'll just read what they say. I'll be curious you guys' point of view on this one. This is from them. It's called, I think it's called Glue or something like that. This is from Glue, the AI Christian thing. Quote, there's an imperative to shape technology for good. On its own, it isn't good or bad. The question is what it's used for, okay? Software developed by OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google and used by Glue is, quote, still 15% not accurate as it relates to Bible verses. So we're building foundational models based on curated data, okay, biblical context, extra biblical content, and sermon content to eliminate hallucinations. So that's according to them. And I mean, I guess at this point, everyone's going to be using AI. Maybe we're going to go to AI church someday. I mean, you never know in this day and age. And they're calling it values-aligned AI. I looked at their website. It's kind of interesting. And then you got to deal with this. So you got the AI bubble thing. You got Trump threatening to sue states if you regulate this stuff, at all. And then you got the Fed talking about the actual economy and numbers. And it's interesting because there was a debate on whether or not they should cut. And now it looks like it's in doubt if they cut in December. Now, no one knows for sure. We'll see what they end up saying. But the government, data regarding unemployment and such is basically we can get a jobs report today. And the next job report is delayed. So like the Fed's got no data to run. I'll say no, that's not the right word to say. We'll just say they don't have as much data as they normally would to make a call. And it's kind of ridiculous to force them into this thing. So in my opinion, there's no hurry if you don't know what the data is and if everything's shaky. And the big concern is like, okay, are we more concerned about unemployment? Or are we more concerned about inflation? And in my opinion on this stuff, I think unemployment is going to be the big thing going forward as you have a slowdown in the economy and the Trump stuff, right? And you got all those crazy tariffs. And then you have all the AI, which is basically trying to force people out of their jobs. So that's why I'm saying I think unemployment is going to be the big one. And the problem is like, what do you do if you don't have any numbers to even rate this stuff? Now, it was interesting because when I looked at the Fed minutes and they basically said this is the key line. I'll read it. It says, regarding December. So with officials expressing skepticism about the need for additional cut, that markets have been widely anticipated with, quote, many saying no more cuts are needed at least in 2025. And I guess the word many is more than, quote, several, and you want to, check on like what kind of language that they're using. But point being, though, they're not unanimous over at the Fed whether or not they're just going to keep on cutting to infinity, go to zero, and just get the borrowing going as much as we can. And that relates to the Nvidia thing. That's why I said Nvidia is like, okay, this thing can keep going as long as people have capital and energy. And then that relates to Trump because he wants to deregulate everything so the data centers can come in, take all of your energy, and then he wants to, drill everywhere and get all this energy to power up the data centers. And then I guess we're all going to be rich somehow. But I told you guys the actual goal of this thing is to replace you, the worker. And Trump, he doesn't care about regular people. He's like, well, all these people can give me money. I'm building my hotels and I put money in my pocket and we'll keep this game going. So when is this going to end is anyone's guess. I think it's a massive bubble. And there's going to be some sort of, I don't know what to say, catastrophic event, how you want to call it, that's really going to expose the bubble. It could be like there's like a sudden, bankruptcy of a particular company and then the dominoes fall. It could be there's some sort of like, major incident at a data center that, who knows when there's a big fire or whatever. I'm just saying there's something happens and then we start to question like, hey, what's going on? Or maybe there's like some sort of deep fake out there that really changes the way that we see about this technology. It could be any number of things, but in my opinion, this thing is a massive bubble because all these companies are investing and I just don't think it's going to make as much money as people say it is. Plus, it doesn't work as good as people like are advertising it to be. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you all in the next video.